Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? Take off my safety glasses. Probably no chances of me getting an eye injury in here tonight. How is everybody tonight? I don't know about you guys, but it has been a busy week for me this week. We had the Bixie conference where I was working booth duty. I'm working on updating an exam. Lots and lots of stuff happening this week. If you attended the Bixie conference, do me a favor, put in the chat box that you attended and tell me what was your favorite part of the Bixie conference. I'm starting to really dig the virtual conferences. I still can't wait to get back to the face-to-face, but I'm really starting to like the virtual conferences more and more and more, actually. There's a lot of benefits to it, And I'm going to cover that in my next episode on the podcast. I got to interview with some people who have attended the class, and we're just attended the conference, and we're just going to talk about our experiences with the conference, how we liked the new format, what did we learn, what was our impressions and stuff like that. I got new people and old people attending that as well, so that way we get that thing. So yeah, if you attended the Bixie conference this week, make sure you put it in the chat box. Hey Chuck, I attended. And also, if you want to be a part of tonight's episode, there's a link right there. Let me turn off that other banner. That other banner doesn't need to be scrolling while I'm doing this, so we'll turn off that other banner. There we go. So if you have a question and you feel brave enough to be a part of the live stream, make sure you follow that link there and connect and hop on and chat with me. So for those who don't know the format of this show, this is a Q&A session where people shoot me emails throughout the week, and also sometimes even during the show. Probably helps to turn on the comments so I can see them. And I answer your questions live on the air, unrehearsed, unscripted. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Just kind of really all depends. So the first part, I always start off the show with, what are you drinking tonight? Because it's an after hours event. So what are you drinking? So for me, I'm splurging. I got Zaxby's tonight. Zaxby's. So I'm drinking a Coke tonight. Just a Coke with, nothing in it. No adult beverages here. Just a Coke. But you guys, what are you drinking? Make sure you put in the chat box what it is that you are drinking tonight. So we'll wait for a few people, a couple more minutes for a couple people to hop in. For those who don't know, I'm Chuck Bowser, the host of Let's Talk Cabling Podcast and Learning Platform, where we put out weekly audio podcasts and also video content on the YouTube channel, Let's Talk Cabling. We also write periodic articles and post them on LinkedIn from time to time. And our motto here is connecting at the human level so we can connect the world. We want to make the ICT industry just a little bit better than it was when we found it, when we came here. Not that it was bad when we got here, but we would like to see some changes. We'd like to see some changes. Shotzi's in the house. He is drinking a Diet Dr. Pepper. How did I know that? How did I know that? And if I know Shotzi, it's from a 2-liter container, because that's just the way he rolls. That's the way Shotzi rolls. So yeah, if you have a question and you want to be a part of the live process tonight, be aware if you follow that link right there, if you follow that link tonight, and it's only good for tonight, you will be a video and audio part of tonight's thing, and this will be recorded and put on the YouTube channel. I might even do the audio on the podcast. I've been tinkering around with that idea, so it'd be kind of cool to see what everybody has to say about that. Also been a busy week. We were working on our TDMM study group. We are working through the principles of transmission. Got a great group of people in it. Adding another person to the group. I picked up another mentee that I'm going to put on that group as well. So he's going to plug in and stuff like that. Learning lots of stuff. You would think, being an RCDD for 20 plus years, that I would know everything inside and out in that TDMM. Well, there's some new things that were published in the 14th edition of the TDMM that were different from the 13th edition. And I took my test on the 8th edition. So it's changed a lot since my 8th edition. And I'll tell you what, we're doing this, because that was actually one of the questions I forgot to answer. So let me just go ahead and just put in that search real quick, because I know they did an article on Cable Installation and Maintenance magazine about the differences in the 14th edition of the TDMM, and like I said, because of the I did mine on the previous. I don't know. I can't compare and contrast. I don't know what was in the 13th. So I'm going to see if I can't find that article real quick, because that was actually one of the questions. Let's just do that one first. And again, this is going to be right straight from the cable installation and maintenance website. The 14th edition has been released a year, I think. I seem to remember it coming out the winter conference last year. Don't hold me to that, but that's where I seem to think I remember it coming from. For those who don't know, the TDMM is the ultimate guide on how to design a information communication technology system. It's used by experts all around the globe. It is the manual that most RFPs and RFQs reference when it comes to how to install it. There are over 2,000 pages in that book, 2,000 pages. And we are currently working through it in our study group, 70 pages at a time. So anyways, so according to the Cable Installation Maintenance Magazine article, it says, and I'm going to read this. This is a direct quote from them. Updates to the new edition, according to Bixby, include a completely new chapter on special design considerations, new sections on disaster recovery and risk management, a new section on OM5 multi-mode, and expanded information covering topics on intelligent building design, 5G, DAS or Wi-Fi 6, data centers, and power over Ethernet, and the healthcare vertical, wireless networks, electronic safety and security systems, and building automation, and more. So there's been a lot of changes in the 14th edition. And like I said, I'm working my way through that. And I said this to our group last night, because we meet, our study group meets on Tuesday nights. Today's Thursday. Wow. I told you this week was going by fast, didn't I? As I was doing our reading, some of the stuff was familiar, stuff that I'm already familiar with and read, but it's funny how when you read through something like that, you pick up something that you probably read before, but you didn't catch it. And I told this to my group, and I'll say it here to you guys. One of the things in this section of principles of transmission we were talking about, reading that last week, it talked about near and crosstalk. And I know what near and crosstalk is, but I didn't know, and the TDM states this, that it's got to be within 60 feet of the near end of the cable. I didn't know that. I was like, well, that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. So come on, let's go ahead and start off the first question. If you have a question, you can either put it in the chat box, or if you're brave, there's the link right there. Now, I see we've got an audience building, so hop on if you want to be a part of tonight's show, or if you don't want to be videoed, put your question in the chat box and we'll answer that too. And I wish I could remember who asked me that question about the 14th edition, or where that question came from. Like I said, it's been a busy week. So the first question is from John. John is from Blue Bell, Pennsylvania. I used to work for a company based out of Blue Bell, Pennsylvania, a very large company. I love working with that company. And his question is, Chuck, a customer wants to have the fiber optic cable spool tested. I know what spool testing is. Why? It's brand spanking new cable. Why am I having to test this cable? Okay. So first off, the first thing one of the reasons for a customer requires spool testing is they want to make sure when you buy a spool of fiber from the manufacturer, typically it's going to be accompanied with test results that show length and attenuation. So the first thing you're doing is you're comparing the actual loss right there on the dock. By the way, you do this before you sign the bill of lading, and you compare it to the test results from the factory. Make sure that it is indeed the right length. That's the big one, right? Because if you ordered 1,500 feet of fiber optic cable and it's 1,300 feet, something's wrong, right? I remember I did a project one time. We ordered some 100 pair cable from a really well-known cable manufacturer. I won't say who it was. I'm not going to throw them underneath the bus. We ordered a 1,000-foot spool because we had some runs that were literally like 800 feet, 900 feet. We were about halfway through the pool. We were about 400 feet left on the spool. And what had happened was, I guess when they were spooling the cable, they ran out of one, and then they literally took that cable and they taped it to a new one, and they spooled that up. So it was literally like two spools. One had 400 feet, the other had 600 feet. Neither one of them were long enough for our run. If it had been a fiber optic cable, a spool test would have identified that, and we could have sent that back before we signed the bill of lading, before we spent time and labor installing on the job site. So that's one reason. Another reason is you want to make sure that there's this is a lesser known reason. You want to make sure that there's no factory defects in that cable. no factory defects, because something might have happened. It might have gotten pulled too hard. The strand might have been broke. It happens. It's rare, but it happens. And the biggest reason why most customers are going to ask you to do a spool test is to make sure that the common carrier, the trucking company, did not damage the cable during the installation. This is why it's critical you sign that bill of lading before you accept that cable. Because if you don't sign the bill of lading, then that trucking company's got to take it back to the manufacturer or just notify them that it was damaged. We're not signing, and sometimes they won't even ship it back. That saves you, because then you can call up the manufacturer and say, look, we did a spool test. It was supposed to be 2,000 feet. It measured out 800 feet. Something's wrong with it. It happens. It happens. And more often, like I said, it's damaged because it happened during shipping. And again, make sure you do it before you sign it. So the next question comes from Sherry. Sherry is from Prescott, Arizona. Been to Prescott. I drove through there teaching a class. That's also where a few years back, there was some wildfires and they had a whole bunch of firefighters died. Tragic event. So Sherry says, I am new to fiber. Can you please explain to me what zone A, zone B, and zone C is and how it relates to the dirt on an end face of a cable? Easy to do. So first off, the debris that you're really looking for is going to be dust, dirt. It can be residual alcohol, because a lot of times when you use, this is why you have to use 99% isopropyl alcohol, because if you use something less, there's detergent in it and there's stuff in it. So what zone A is the core, any dirt or debris that's in that core, right? Zone B is going to be the cladding, which is the ring just outside of that. And zone C is going to be the ferrule. Now, depending on where the debris is located, we're allowed to have up to certain sizes of contamination. I would say 0 would be the goal, because when it comes to fiber, cleanliness is next to godliness. If it's dirty, clean it again. If it's still dirty, clean it again. If it's still dirty, clean it one more time. Always clean it. And so, depending on what's going to give you a fail is going to be the size of the contamination and how close it is to the proximity to the core on the fiber. Again, remember, if you got questions, put them in the chat box, or if you feel brave, hop on that link tonight. I'll make you part of this live video broadcast. And let me see, what was the next question? Oh, clean. So what are some of the ways you can clean? I'm going to go in reverse order. This is the way that you shouldn't do the most. It shouldn't do up to what's the preferred method. So the old school way, 99% isopropyl alcohol and a lint-free wipe. I kind of mentioned that already. Do not go buy the isopropyl alcohol from your local drugstore. That's not 99%, right? There's water in it. There's detergent in it, all kinds of fun stuff. You can also buy these things called wipe cards, and also different types of solvents to clean it. You can also use cassette cleaners. The company that I work for manufactures some of those. And you can also use automatic cleaning systems. Now, the only place I've really seen an automatic cleaning system was in a manufacturer. Most fiber technicians out in the field don't have automatic cleaning stations, but you never know. You've got a company that's really dedicated to making sure their fiber is spotless and clean. You might have it. What do you use to clean your fiber? Put it in the comment section. Let me know. Oh, let me take a sip of my drink while we're waiting. Yeah, I'm breaking from my keto today. We had Zaxby's for lunch. So the next question comes from James. James is in Boston, and James says, Chuck, I'm running some coax cable for TV. I can't read my own handwriting. Hold on. Let me put on my safety glasses so the words don't jump off the page and injure my eyes. These are not reading glasses. Running coax for TVs in the waiting room for a doctor. What type of connector should I use? Well, James, you forgot to tell me what kind of coax it was, right? Now, I'm going to assume it's for video, right? Now, most video is going to use either RG6/U or RG11, or actually they call it Series 11. They haven't called it RG11 in years. That's typically what's used. It's a 75 coax cable that you basically are going to run from your head end to your device. You may put a splitter there. You may daisy chain it. Every time you split or to daisy chain it, you're knocking that signal down just a little bit. Here's a tip for you. Make sure you buy, if you do buy a splitter, make sure you buy a splitter that can handle the frequencies of that system. Ask me how I know that one. Yeah. But there are some other type coax cables. I'm just assuming it's video because you said it's in a waiting room. Well, let's talk about that F connector. So you want to use an F connector. So an F connector is the best one to use is the compression style one. And when you go to install it, the two best tools that you will always have will be a coax stripper, because it's going to be a quad shield, right? And the coax stripper is going to strip those shields exactly right, the exact increments. And then you're going to slide that F connector so that you get the very center part, which is the core. Then you got the dielectric, which surrounds that. Then you got your shields, and then you got your jacket. So when you slide that connector into the cable into the F connector, what happens is the dielectric goes in the very center, and the center conductor actually goes into the equipment, which is different from some of the other coax connectors. An old TV guy once told me, and I don't know if it's true or not, I've never had the ability to test this. He said that when you're doing video cable, because the signal travels on the outside of that copper, it's known as the skin effect, that when you, instead of cutting that center conductor on the F connector straight up and down, cut it at an angle, because then it's elliptical and there's more surface area. I don't know if it's true or not. I tried and I didn't really notice any difference in the quality of the picture on my TVs, but some old cable guy told me that, and old cable guys don't lie, right? They're never wrong, right? Yeah, exactly. So if you're doing, for example, data or some other kind of stuff like radio or video, you might be doing an N connector. The difference between an F connector and an N connector has a little copper pin. That's my puppy. And you can put that over the pin, and then it actually terminates a little different. Or you might even be putting on a BNC. A BNC is for RG59 coax. Used a lot in the data world. Used a lot in central offices. I haven't done a BNC connector in years. I'll give extra credit to anybody who can tell me what a BNC connector is. Put it in the chat box if you think you know. There's two acceptable answers. Well, one's really an acceptable answer. The other one was a lot of people think it's that, but it's not. But it's kind of interesting to see if everybody knows what it means. I may tell you at the end of the show if I remember. So the next question number 3, comes from Melanie. And Melanie says, my cable's failing, Chuck, because of incorrect capacitance. Help! What is capacitance? So capacitance is basically the ability of a piece of equipment to store an electrical charge. Now, in the ICT world, what we're generally talking about is we're comparing between two conductors in the same pair, right? So some of the biggest causes for incapacitance is a broken conductor on one side, right? Another big one is going to be excessive EMI or some type of noise being interjected on that. Another one is you're using the wrong cable, the wrong size, the wrong cable for it, or probably the most common, split pair. So check those first. First, looking for the broken conductor. That's easy, just a continuity test. You don't need a full certification tester to do that. You can do a simple continuity tester, and that's also going to help you identify split pairs. All right, so I do that first, and then start trying to figure out if it's the EMI or the noise on that, and also if it's the wrong type of cable. Right. So that was her question. Now let's go to question number 4. This is from Juan in Portland, Oregon. Juan says, Chuck, I just started out in the cable industry. I've only been working in it for about 3 months. I really like this. I used to be an auto detailer before. How can I learn faster? I want to be better. Rule number 1, ask questions. Rule number 2, listen. Don't ask and then not listen, right? Always listen. Make sure you understand who you're asking this question to, right? So don't go to somebody else who has 3 months of experience. While they may know the correct way, they may not know why or how. Go to somebody with a little bit more experience, so that way they can not only tell you why that's right, that's right. They can also give you the backstory behind it to help you understand it better, right? That's always ask questions. Always listen. This number 2, and this is free, by the way. Read Cable Installation and Maintenance Magazine. You just saw it. I use it as a resource all the time. Cable Installation Maintenance Magazine. You can free subscription. They also do free webinars, 2 free webinars a month. Don't cost you anything but time. Yep. And the funny thing about knowledge is you can't leave that in the ceiling like you can your screwdriver. As we all know that one. Yep. Next thing, place I'll probably send you, and I'm going in order of from cheapest to having to spend money, right? So the next one's probably going to be YouTube. Go to YouTube. Lots of great resources. Lots of great resources out there. But again, like any good research project, evaluate your source. Make sure that they are reputable. Make sure they're giving you the correct information. So if you type in, a certain subject, and we're doing this with our TDMM study group because we're going through some of the things, and some of the guys are doing really good at this. Like, I didn't understand this, Chuck, so I looked it up on the internet, and here's what I found, and we're sharing it with the group. It's a great resource, but you got to evaluate where they came from. So if you're trying to look up how to terminate a jack and it's from some cooking channel, yeah, probably not a good idea, right? So make sure you evaluate the source. So if you're terminating a particular manufacturer's jack, go to that manufacturer's website and look it up, or go to their YouTube channel and look it up. If you're trying to test cables, so for example, the question we just got about testing from Melanie, right? Fluke's got a really great YouTube channel. Softing has a really great YouTube channel. And they will bend over backwards to help you solve your issues. And you can go to the webpage and they got frequent asked questions, stuff like that. Great resource, right? Going up a step, look up Low Voltage Nation. Low Voltage Nation. That's a group of people in the low voltage industry, and that they're trying to make the industry better, doing the same kind of thing we're doing. Great resource out there for you. Look them up. They got lots of presence, a lot of followers. And then the third one is, because you're new in the industry and you're only 3 months in, you might find you want to do training, but you might find that your employer is a little hesitant to provide training for you because you only got 3 months of experience, and they're not sure if you're going to be, hello, Thomas, how you doing? They may not understand or know if you're going to be hanging around, right? So if you have the ability and you've exhausted all those free resources that I just told you about, look up Bixie. Go take the installer one. Be certified. You can either come to Tampa to do that. They have also local providers. Just contact them and ask them, I want to take a Bixie course. I live in Portland, Oregon. What's my options? They'll tell you. Now, the good thing about the installer one is that's the entry level certification. And there's a lot of name recognition that goes along with that. And when you have that on your thing, Bixie installer one, most HR people, they're going to see that and they're going to say, this person is serious about this industry. And it might result in you making more money. It's certainly going to elevate you in status in that recruiter's or your employer's eyes. So definitely look that up. Okay. Question number 5, I think, for the day. Let's see. And I lost the source in this one too. Again, like I told you, it's been a real bad week for Chuck for as far as all the stuff I've been going on. And this one, the question says, Chuck, should I wear gloves when installing FireStop? You might have even heard me reference this question in the podcast I put out on Monday, because I had Jake Jones on. Jake Jones is the CEO or general manager of Polywater. So we had a real interesting conversation on pooling lubricant. And I asked him the same question, but I applied it towards pooling lubricant. But I did reach out to STI. I reached out to them and I said, hey, I got a student asking me, should they wear, because of the chemicals, should they wear gloves? And the response that I got back from STI pretty much fell in line with me. I got to preface this. There's always a chance of some kind of allergic reaction to some of the chemicals that might be in fire stopping. There's always that chance, right? Always that chance. By the way, questions, put them in the comment box. So yeah, you should probably wear for that. But more importantly, you should wear it for convenience, right? Because if you start working with some of the putties and some of I also asked us the unique fire stop system. I'm asking 2 different references today. And again, I apologize for my puppy. What you're going to find is some of those putties are real sticky. And when you're handling them stuff, it gets on your hands. And next thing you know, you're touching ceiling tiles and you're leaving fingerprints everywhere. And let's be honest, that stuff doesn't wash off very easily, does it? No, it doesn't. So yeah, and especially now because of COVID and everything else, and there's a lot of resources out there, a lot of places you can go buy those latex gloves, and they're getting to be relatively cheap. So wear them while you're installing it. That way you don't have cross-contamination issues. You don't dirty walls. You don't dirty ceiling tiles. Because if you're putting in a fire stop system, you probably lifted out the tile. right? Nothing makes a customer more angry than leaving fingerprints on a ceiling tile. Ask me, I'll know that one. Yeah. So let's chance of cross-contamination. And if you think there's an allergic reaction, they should do it. So when I asked Jake Jones that from Polywater, he mentioned in the episode that there's only solids in that dual-pulling lubricant. So he says, you'll be lucky to even find anything on there. But he said, he always prefaces it with, it's always a good idea because you never know what kind of reaction somebody might have with certain types of chemicals. So that's out there, right? And then the last question I got is from Alex. Alex is in Long Island. And Alex is a curious kind of person. He goes, Chuck, what kind of books do you have on your desk? Because as you can see, I got books here. The books on my desk are the books I use most often. I have a bookshelf right here behind you, behind this the thing that you can't see. And you probably couldn't see it even if I moved the camera because it's too dark. I've read all those. These are the ones I use most often. So let's take a look at some of these books, right? So the first one I have, and if you're in the ICT industry, you're an installer, you're a designer, you need to get these. You absolutely, Bixby ICT Pocket Field Guides, $35 a piece, roughly, I think, if I remember right. It'll cost you about $100 to buy all three. Great resource. One for copper, one for fiber, one for general installation. Great. I refer to these things weekly. The next book I've got past books. You guys know I like to document stuff in notebooks. So I've got my previous notebooks. I'm not going to open those up. This is another book that I finished reading about 6 months ago. I've read that one to help me with my kids, even though they're all grown up, because you never stop being a dad, do you? Another one, as you all know, I do a lot of mentoring, right? And I'm also looking for someone to mentor me because I lost my mentors. You probably think, Chuck, you got 40 years. Why would you need a mentor? If you're not learning, you're static, right? So this helps me with my mentor-mentee stuff, and it also helps with the study group and stuff like that. If you've been listening to my podcast, you know that I'm actually still finishing this one off. This is a book called Surprise. I interviewed the author of this book. Great resource. That's why it's on my desk. It's not done being read yet. Moving back a little further, I have a 2020 copy of the National Electrical Code book. I use it for reference all the time. I get questions, electric code questions. You get them all the time. Behind that, I have a construction field guide, pocket guide, and the full-size one. I just keep that for demonstration purposes. And then I've got the Bixby Wireless Design Manual behind that. I also have on my computer, I have the ITSA manual, the Information Transport Systems Installations Methods Manual. I have the TDMM. I have the Bixby ICT definition guides. I've got copies of the standards and a bunch of other stuff. So I've got lots of stuff, and I'm always reading something or another. So my challenge for you guys this week is pick something up and read it, or read an article. Read a cable installation maintenance magazine article. There's another magazine too called ECM, Electrical Contractor Magazine. I'm doing that from memory. I'm not 100% positive on that. I got dinged the other day because I wasn't accurate about something, but it happens. Hey, it's free, just like Cable Installation Maintenance Magazine is, and great resource. But that one's more geared towards electricians, but it does have some low voltage stuff in there. I've told you about the article that I read a while back, an article by a guy who wrote an interesting article many, many years ago. It still applies to us. And his article asked, does Article 800 apply to us, or does 725? Which is it? Great article. And we are right at the 30-minute mark. I'll give you guys a few seconds in case anybody has a question that didn't happen to make it through on time. Nobody was a taker on my Be On Tonight's show. I was going to try. I figured, what the heck? I guess nobody wants to be a part of the show. Any questions, guys? While I'll wait for a few seconds for people to type, let me kind of circle back around to that Bixby conference. So the conference that was just this week, I did not participate in the. Oh, that's my watch. It's always set to go off at 6:30. Funny story. Shows you how procrastinating Chuck is. I set that 2 years ago for a meeting. Still haven't turned it off. I'm really digging the virtual format. I really, really am. I still prefer the face-to-face because I'm a social animal. I'm a social butterfly. But I'm really, really digging because I find people they're more willing to talk in chat rooms, more willing to communicate and stuff like that. There's the ability to watch the stuff after the conference ends for up to a certain period of time. And also it's just, I'm hoping that all future conferences will be a blend of the both, where when you pay for the conference fee, you can either be in person or virtual or both. Maybe you're there and you're at the Big C Winter Conference and you're day one, and then that night you go out with some manufacturers and you party a little too hard. Next morning, your head is throbbing. You can log on your computer. Right. I think, I don't know, I don't know if Big C even considering that or not. I hope they would, because they're pretty good about keeping it leading edge like that. So they are part of the ICT industry experts. Right. So nobody's posting any questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and call it for tonight's show. And we'll see you guys next Thursday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember, send your questions to Chuck at letstalkcabling.com, or look me up on LinkedIn. Send me a direct message there as well. So until next time, everybody, be safe.
That's it for this episode of today's podcast. We hope you were able to learn something. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Also, leave a rating so we can help even more people learn about telecommunications. Until next time, be safe.